Okay, the recording is started.
Okay, so let me share my file. And I just shared this PPT document in the chat, and I know some of you may not be able to see it. And I will share it with you again at the end of this presentation. So you will have this file for sure. So for today, I want to talk about the PDF accessibility. So when we host our office hours during last semester, the most common question I got is the PDF files, right? And today I will show a few tools in this software called Adobe Acrobat Pro. So this will be the software we'll mainly use today. And this software is free for faculty and staff. And if you don't have this software, you can reach out to the help desk of our CTS services. And this software is very comprehensive. And in this software, you can create, edit, manage, and secure PDF document. And also you can sign it as well. And it also enable conversion between many file types. Like you can save a file into a PDF, or you can export a PDF file in many other file types. And also it for accessibility, it enables something called optical character recognition. So for during last spring break, we have one of our faculty fellows presented on this topic. So today I won't repeat it, but it's recorded for the spring breakout in 2025. So today I will focus on other specialized tools to ensure digital accessibility using Adobe Acrobat Pro. Any questions, please feel free to type in the chat. Do you have any question regarding the software availability? Yeah, I do agree that this software require a lot of computing power because I had old Mac, iMac. I have at home. It's hard. I hardly can run the software. And then I got this new Mac. It runs smoothly. So that's one of the thing you may think about it. If the computer is old, the software can be very slow. And the type of PDF document we talk about today is registration forms and any other PDF forms and posters, right? Especially for Quest posters, usually we save and the Quest host asks us to save as a PDF file, so that can be accessible using Acrobat Pro and any similar files, right? Poster, flyers, and or even course handout in a PDF format as well. And if you don't share them with Google Doc, and or any other non-copyrighted PDF document. So I have to highlight here is because a lot of peer-reviewed articles are in PDF files. However, they are copyrighted. It's not our responsibility to edit them. It's the publisher's responsibility to make them accessible. And in fact, as a faculty, we cannot because it's a copyrighted material, right? So today we are covering the files that's non-copyrighted, created by certain offices or created by yourself. Any questions here? Okay, feel free to drop me a question in the chat. So today I'm going to use an example. So this is a two-page PDF document from our Office of Student Affairs. So I was during one of my office hours, I was asked about this PDF file. So first of all, I want to point several regions that we can make it more accessible, and then I'm going to show you each of the steps. And I will first to talk about each of the topics I want to modify, and then I'm going to show it in the software itself. So it's more of a hands-on. And if you do have this Acrobat Pro software, please open up any of your PDF files, and so that you at least you can see the options, right, of the different accessibility tools. So let's first look at these two files here. And so first, for something like a poster, I think the structure, content, and the reading order is very important. I have tried several of our registration forms, such as the independent study form. The reading order automatically recognized by the software was always wrong. So for example, right here, the software could recognize the reading order as responding to disruptive individual and immediately jump to the right side, responding to the distracted individual. But actually, the logical reading order should go to the downside rather than go to the right side, right? So this is a very common problem with PDF accessibility, especially for posters, when you have to define a certain reading order and especially structured content, because this is hard for the software to interpret, right? So I would say supporting our student is the handing one, right? The main handing, and who to contact would be the handing two, because the first page is about who to contact, right? And then another same level handing to would be responding to a distracted individual, right? And then the same handing to another handing to the same level would be responding to distressed individuals. So this would we would have to do it manually, right? And if it's a typical PDF document, it won't be problem, but a lot of posters, we have to do it manually. So that's first, right? The most important two things is structure, content, and reading order. And secondly, the color and the contrast. For example, here we have this who to contact in a dark yellow, which is not enough contrast under the background of a dark green. And also here with underline, it can make people misunderstood it's a link, but actually it's not, right? So we want to edit this out. Here, right here, there's a gray box, and then there's dark color text on top of the gray box. It may not be able to give enough contrast, right? So we may want to delay this text box as well. And another thing we may need to modify is that QR code. So for QR code is usually for printed documents or during a presentation, right? In front of audience, in person or virtually, people can scan it through the screen or in person. But for digitally distributed PDF documents, it's not recommended to have a QR code, so that we can delete as well in the software. And also right here, sorry, it may be too, I can make it bigger. Right here, right, we have a web page right here. So that's not a hyperlink, right? So that we need to add a hypertext and with hyperlink. And also alternative text for images. And here I would recognize the logo as an image right here. And in fact, I will show you, I add a logo and I will show you how to add alternative text for images. I know in other posters, especially during Quest presentation, there are often a lot of images, right, as figures, and we want to add alternative text. There's not many images here, but I will for sure show you how to do that. Any questions? Yeah, so I'll mainly focus on this one. So the first two things, let's start with the easy one, right? How to undo the text and how to undo the color. So that's the easiest one. And I will first give you a brief overview, and then I will go to a hands-on in the real software. So to edit any text in this PDF file, this software is allowed it is very easily to be edited. So we first will open the PDF file, click All Tools, and choose the Edit PDF tool. And then once this tool is opened, and we can select text, and then we can edit, such as how we edit in the Word documents. So for accessibility, for this document, the font type is not one of the recommended types, right? So for accessibility in the font type of document, it's recommended to use the simple, widely available, and highly legible font types, such as these, right? So for this document, I choose the Arial type and Vadana, right? This is commonly occur in many software and Tahoma. So all of these are recommended because they are easily recognizable and widely available and in a simple format. And also I mentioned I want to delete the underline, right? Delete the QR code. And for the color, I want to the same thing, right? I alter and open the edit pen, and then we can change the color easily, and we can delete the gray box. So let me first show you these easy steps. And if you have this software, please feel free to open it up. Okay, so this is a file I opened in Acrobat Pro. So once it's opened, so it looks like this. And then you click All Tools on the upper left right here. And then you click Edit PDF, right? So Edit PDF, they have all these tools, and I will show you some of these. But first, for example, I want to get rid of the yellow color. I want to choose a white color, right? So first of all, you want to highlight the text, and then you can click the text color box right here, and then you can choose, for example, just white color, and click on it. And then it should change the color. Yeah, so the white color. See, sorry, I forgot where to turn it off. Yeah, double click, should disappear. Okay, let me see if it's changed or not. Let me see. Oh, maybe here. White color. You know why that's not. Sorry, there's something going on with my software.
Are you able to just click outside of it?
Click outside.
No.
No.
All right.
Yeah, usually there's a color I chose and it's easily changed. Know what's going on today? Yeah, this. Okay, so white. Uh, yeah, doesn't let me. Okay, let me try enter. No, I think usually it's very simple. You click the color, I double click it, it's gone. So I think there's something wrong with the software. Yeah, I probably have to yeah, it doesn't let me do anything. So let me actually close the software and see what happens. Yeah, let me try again. So let me just force quick. Yeah, so I'm force quitting the software, see if it's come back to normal function. Okay, now it has that button on the upper left. I see. Yeah, there's the software has some okay, yeah. So once I did that, they give me that option now. So let's go to edit text, right? To edit a PDF, and you highlight here and click on the color. Let me see. Oh, every time I close the window, oh, I see. So now I see it. So let's choose the red color, white color, and then close the window. Yeah, so now it's white. And then, yeah, so, and then we can change underline. Do you see it's underline here? You can click off, so the underline is gone, right? And and also you can, if I want to change this text box, you can just delete it and hit delete, and highlight it and hit delete. And so the color here, you can change this color to white as well. And click here and choose a white color. And And then here, I remember here, right? Close the window and then it will become white. So that's the color. We delete the text box and we can also delete the QR code. Tools and data PDF. For QR code, and you can just hit delete. Yeah, so I select and then delete. You can select, right? So you just use this select tool and select it and then delete. Select and delete, and then select and delete, right? So that you can, and these are text, or you can even change the text. So you for example, if you want to write anything, you can change the text, and or you can change the font type, right? Let's try one. And for example, Arial is recommended and is widely available, right? So you can change the font type. So I won't do all of them. You can multiple select them. You can just press on Shift and select them multiple, and then change the text in one click, right? Rather than change them individually. Any other questions? Okay, so let's continue about regarding other tools. Okay, so we have changed the color contrast, changed the font type, and make sure to use one of these types to make it accessible. And then another thing I just point out is we need to enter a hyperlink, right? So the hyperlink is actually under an data PDF tool we just use, and we'll find that and the content function, and then we'll choose a link. And once we choose the link, we want to choose a link appearance to make it accessible. I will show you what's exactly that, right? So just want to point it out to make the link appearance accessible. We need to choose the link type as a visible rectangle so that when you open the PDF files and when you hover over it, it shows a visible rectangle over the link area, right? And the link style should be underlined and no highlight style because it's kind of distractive. And then the line thickness, choose thin, and the color, use a dark color in contrast with the background, with a white background, right? With it's a dark background and use a white color. So another thing I want to point out before I go to the software is not only we can add a link of a web page, we can also add a link to an email address. So in the URL field, which I will show you, will be the formatter mail to and the email address. So that acts like the URL for email address. And I will share this PPT file with you. Okay, let's go to that same file, and then let's look at how do we add a link. So let's say, so if I want to add a link right here, right? So for the behavior intervention team, I want to add a link rather than having it written here, right? So this part would be deleted, and instead we want to add that link there. So let me go back and copy this address. Yeah, you can copy any of the web address and then add that web link. So let me show you how to do it. So first, it's the same thing, right? So we go to all tools on the upper left, and then we click edit PDF file. And it's kind of hidden right here, right? So do you see add contact? We want to add the contact of a link, right? So you click more right here, and then there's a link, right? So there's a drop-down menu after you click the lower right side, and the end and edit link. So click on that. After you click on that, do you see my selection tool have this more of a cross shift, right? So this is a linkable area. Actually, make sure when you join this box, make sure you join it accurately, because in the PDF file, it will show as a blue box, right, later. So I would join so exactly where I want the link to be, right? So like this right here. Right. So once you join that box, you will have a pop-up window called Create a Link. So this is the link accessible link appearance I just mentioned in that in my presentation. We choose a visible rectangle, underline, no highlight and thin line thickness, and then open a web page, right? So, and then you choose next, and then you just paste the URL and click OK, and then the link will be there. And for email address, you add mail to, and then the email address. So, and then you click OK. So later I will show you in my modified file, I delete this web address and the web email address for the SUNY Oswego Division of Student Affairs. So let me show you what it look like, right? So let me show you again how to do it. So you go to link and edit link, and you join a box anywhere you want to end that link, and then set the appearance, click next, and enter URL, or enter the email address with mail to in the front, and then you click OK. So I just want to show you, once you end it, it looks like this. When I open up, let me show you in the software. Show you what it's like once ended. So I'm opening this PDF just in my, make it a little bit bigger. So this is what it look like, right? So it has that blue box around it, where's the link, and then you can click. Do you see? When I hover over it, it even show me the web address right here, right address, web address right there. So this is what it accessible link look like in the PDF file. It need that box around it. Okay. Any questions? And then I can click it. Do you see it become a hand sign? And I can click it. It will open up in one browser. Okay, so that's and a link, and there's other accessible tools I want to show you. The next one is to add alternative text or images. In this document, I don't have many alternative text, but I will show you how to do it. And the easiest way is to open the PDF, we'll choose prepare for accessibility, and then we'll choose add alternative text as one of the options. And this is very easy because the software will automatically recognize all the images. And then you can just add them in the bulk, right? So I will show you exactly how to do that. If the image is decorative, you can easily mark them as decorative image. However, in some scenario, they may not recognize as the image. The software may miss it, right? So, and I will show you how to do it as well. For example, in this document, the software won't recognize the SUNY Oswego logo as an image, and we'll have to add it manually. So for this PDF I have, I don't the logo was not even as an image. So I first download the image, I insert the image. You just the same thing we did, and a contact, right? Instead the link, you choose the image, and then you can insert image, follow the instruction of the software, and then once we have the image there, and even the software doesn't automatically recognize it, and we can tag it as an image. So this tagging I will focus on for the rest of my presentation, but I want to quickly show you how to tag it. So especially in the poster or in the like a poster for Quest as a figure, if a figure in the poster, we want to label it as a figure and tag it as the figure type, and then we can add alternative text through there. So let me show you how to do in both ways. Okay, so let's go to all tools right here. And then it's also hidden, right? So we have click this view more, and then we choose prepare for accessibility. And then we choose add alternative text right here. So you click add alternative text. So for this, actually I delete the 3 QR code. Actually, this software automatically recognizes the 3 QR code as image, which is correct. So because I just deleted, it won't highlight it, but because once you click this, it will highlight the next image in your file. But because I deleted, it's not showing now. But it's easy, right? For example, it detects 3 images. You write an alternative for the first image, right? So which is highlighted, and then you save and close. And then you can click the next one and add the alternative text for the next one and then save. If it's decorative, you can just mark them as decorative. So for this file, I don't have a image now. Now it's highlighted as the entire file as an image. But if you have a file with certain photos, then it will recognize. However, it doesn't recognize the SUNY Oswego logo as an image, which should be. So one way to do it is under edit text. Under edit text. So this one is actually not an image file embedded. But I can show you if you insert an image, for example, a logo right here. So you go to All Tools, edit the PDF file. Okay, and then you choose this image, right? You just highlight that image, and then right here we have a tag tool, which I will talk more later, right? So that's a tag tool, and then you click New Tag. So once it's new tag, I want this as a figure, right? Image is set as a figure in accessibility tool. So for the figure, you can add, for example, you can do a figure 1, right? So I will show you why we need a title, because it's easier for us to arrange the reading order later. So because if there's a title, right, we know exactly the logical order. So it will facilitate us to arrange the reading order later. So I recommend to give a title, and then you click OK, right? So once the image right here, do you see the title is showing here? The tag is called a figure, which I have talked more about it. And then you right click on it, and then you choose the property in the drop down menu right here, right? So right click, choose property. And then here is, for example, this is a figure 1, right? So don't worry about actual text. You just say State University of New York and Oswego, the logo of the State University of New York and Oswego. So write down the text and then close. So that will first recognize this as a figure, and then it will have alternative text, right? All you need to do is right click, choose property, and add your alternative text for the image here. And if you have any other context that you want to recognize as a component, and I will show you later how to do it, right? But this is for the image. Any other questions? Okay, so let's review what we learned so far. I know this is a lot of details. So what we learned so far in this software, right? We learned how to edit the text, change the font type, change the underline, change the color, right? Delete certain component. That's all under edit PDF. So for the in the edit pane, we can also create a link, right? So that's called add content. On the contact option, we can add a link, right? It can be a website or it can be an email address, right? The URL will be in this format. Also under the add content, we can add the link, right? And also we can add alternative text. That's under prepare for accessibility. So that's what we learned so far. Any questions? Okay, and the link and alternative text, right? Change the color, contrast, and change the text. Change the font type, especially for accessibility. And then the most important thing, I think, for a PDF, especially in terms of poster, is to tag the PDF. What does it mean? So it just means you want to let the software or any software know what's the different headings, right? What's the context structure, which is nested what, right? And also eventually we can even change the reading order for these tagged components. So to do all of this, we need the tag pane. And the tag panel is used to add, edit, or delete accessibility tags. And that will show up as a logically arranged tag tree. And it can show the different elements, their types. As I already demonstrate one type is called a figure, right? So I will show you more types. And then also we can arrange their hierarchy, which tag is nested under which tag, right? And I will expand on that. And first to access this tag panel, we can go to we can click the accessibility tag at the bottom, the upper right bar right here, right? I will show you where it is exactly. So this is the accessibility tag. That's the symbol for the accessibility tag. All we can do it is through prepare for accessibility. And if you have a new file that's have never been tagged, I recommend you will choose access automatic tagged PDF, which can save a lot of work. However, for this file I worked on, I actually don't use automatic tag because the reading order and the components is very difficult to recognize. I actually did it manually, but I would recommend just do it automatically at the beginning. So let me first show you where to access this tag panel. So the easiest way would be on the upper right here. That's a tag panel. You can just open it directly. And these 3 dots right here on the upper right is very, very useful, right? So you can add a new tag. And another is you can create a tag from selection. And then you can do a reading order, right? So that's the most important thing, I think, for these 3 dots on the upper right. But if this is not tagged, first let's automatically tag it. So we click the All Tools on the upper left, and then we click More, right? View More, and then choose Prepare for Accessibility. And after we choose that, and we'll choose Automatic Tag PDF on the first option. So let me click on it. It may take a few minutes. Then confirm, right? So we'll automatically tag it. So it may take a few minutes to tag it. So now, right, so if you choose automatic tag PDF, now it's automatically tagged, right? So all these are here. So it's very handy here. For example, I don't know what's the heading 3 is a tagged, right? You just click on it. Do you see it highlight the to do as a heading 3, right? So all you need to do is to click on it to see the heading 3. Right, so and then you click heading 2, it automatically tag the responding to disrupt individuals as a tagging 2, so you can tag on it. So click on it, and then you can see the highlight, right? So that right here, do you see a pink box will appear for that? And let me first show you the different tag types, and then we can better understand the tag tree. Okay, so here in this slide, I showed how to access the tag panel, right? So either click this accessibility tag symbol, or we can go to the prepare for accessibility and click automatic tag PDF, and the tag tree will show up. And once it's automatically tagged, don't do it again, right? You just click this symbol right here on the right side, it will appear. You just need to do it automatically once, okay? And then, so in there, I can show you, right? So you just click on the tag in the panel, and it will highlight with a pink box in the file. And then we can right-click any of the tag, and then choose a property in the drop-down menu right here, right? So, and then we want to make sure the element type is correct. If it's a heading 1, it's heading 1, right? If it's a figure, it's tagged as a figure. If it's a table, it's tagged as a table, right? So that's called element type. And then I recommend enter a title for any tag, so that when we arrange their reading order, we don't have to click on it all the time. We can just see it from the tree. And then you can drag and drop the tag to make a correct nesting order, and which I will show you. And you just drag them. For example, you want a certain tag to be under certain heading. And then first, I want to show you the different tag element types. So this is very similar for any documents. For accessibility, we have heading 1, and usually designated as a title. And then heading 2, right? Heading 3 is the subheading nested under heading 2. Heading 4 is a subheading nested under heading 3, etc. And then if it's a paragraph, it's labeled as a P, right? If it's a list, and it will be L, LR, LBL, and L body, which I will show you in the next slide. And it's a figure, which I already showed. It's the tag is just a figure, right? If it's a table, it's a table. And different tags for the table rows, the table handles, and the table data. And then the hyperlink, right, it should be tagged as a link. And then this should be have a certain nesting order, which I will show you as well in the next slide. And then there's also structure. For example, I have this 2-page one, right? So I want a section one. There's different containers you can use. So the part tag is the highest level container to group major parts, such as a chapter and volume of a book, right? So it's not really applicable for this file. So instead, I like to use a section. So section is a middle level container to group context such as specific topic or subsection, so that I want who to contact, right, as a section, and then how to interact with the disrupt individual, right? That's another section. So I think this fits this file, and then you can also use division. And it's more of a generic container that group any elements. So this container is very nice. Because then you can group, also logically group certain headings, right, together. And then there's others, a table of contacts, right? So there are more tags, but these are the major tags. Among these, I want to show two things. One is the list, one is a hyperlink, how they are showing in the tag tree. So yeah, and then I will show you how to add a new tag. Let me show you this first. So as a list, so the L tag it includes all the items in this list, right? So this is highest level tag, and this is called the nesting order. We want the LR or LBL, L body all nested under the L because it encapsulates all the list items. And then the LI tag is contain the label and the text for a specific bullet. For example, you have a bullet point and the text. So that whole thing is LI, right? It's one of the list items. And it must be listed under the L tag, right? So for example, in this L tag right here, I have at least one LI, right? LR, another one, and then 3 of them, right? So 3 of would be the dean of students, the counseling services, the health services, right? Each of them as LR. So this nesting order is very important because first the LR is nested immediately under the L, right? And then under each LI, each list item, you want first LBL, which contains the bullet point, the number, or the list marker, right? So that do you say, for example, right here, the LBL, the text part is that bullet point right here, right? And then this and the same nesting order, right? We have L body tag. So that contains the actual content of the list item. For example, right here under the L body, it's a dean of students with a telephone number, right? So, and then the same thing occur again in the second list item with a bullet point first, and then the bullet test, right? And then the bullet point and the bullet test. So this is the called nesting order, and it has to strictly follow this nesting order for list. And for the link, it also have a certain nesting order. It first must be under this, must be recognized as a link, right? Tagged as a link. And then first it has a link text, basically the visible hypertext, right? And then the link OBJR is the functional object. It actually contains the link. And it represents the actual clickable area, the active area. So for here, usually the software does a good job. If you end the link like how I showed to end, right? And context and the link, if you do it that way, the software will always recognize it. I tried it several times. Every time it recognizes the link and automatically has this nesting order, automatically tagged. So that won't be a problem as long as the link is ended properly. So the one important thing I want to show you in this tag tree is how to add a contact. Sometime in the tag tree, it may miss a component, right? Or you may want to add a section or division, right? Division like these containers right here, right? This higher level container, you want to add a part under section, under division, you can add them directly, right? So, so under the accessory tag button, click that on the upper right, and then the three dotted I just showed, and then you select a new tag, and you can add a division, and then you can drag and drop right to a certain position of nesting order. So I will show you next. And then so that's the end like a like a container. You can just directly end from the three dotted sign. And if there's a file component you want to add a tag, so one thing you can do is to use the select tool and highlight the text or highlight the hyper component, and then you click choose a tag from selection. So that's one. And sometimes this option may not be available. And my favorite one that I use quite a lot while editing this PDF file is a method tool, right? And I will show you in the three dotted sign, there's option called reading order. And then once you have the option menu open, you can drag a rectangle anywhere you want to add a tag, like anywhere the software doesn't recognize, right? And then you can just click one of the buttons and choose a type there directly. And here I want to mention that if you have anything that you think is more decorative, you can choose the option as background or artifact to hide them from the screen readers. So this is a very handy tool. Let me show you how to do it. Okay, so now I'm in the software. And yeah. So first of all, if you want to add a new tag, you just click new tag. And if you want to add a figure, right, or you want to add heading one, right? So so for here, I want to add a part, or you can add a section, right? So this is common. Easily, you just want to add a divider or container, right? So you just go directly to the three dot and a new tag, right? Container, for example, section one, I will say who to contact, right? And then you click OK. So that it will appear right here, who to contact, right? So this is not right order. Do you see? You can drag this. This will highlight here, right? So if you want to drag the same level, right? So this is drag under the paragraph, right? So this is here. You can drag them in any level. Do you see? This is the same level. If you drag, do you see this long, the gray bar right here? Right. So this is the same level as the heading 2. However, if you just drag it to the right side, it can shrink it. Do you see? Now this gray bar is shrink its size, which means you want this nested under heading 2 rather than the same level. Do you see the gray bar change back and forth, right? So that's a very good trick to learn, right? So this is the same level, this is under it. For my section, I want it in a higher level, right? Who to contact. Who to contact? Yeah, you can just drag and drop. I don't know where I dropped it. Yeah, you can just drag and drop certain sections. Just like a container, right? Like a part or division, and you can just end directly. Another thing is if you want to add a new tag right here, let me go to edit, all tools, date. Like I showed you right here, right? So you just, I want a new tag for this, right? So you just go to here, highlight any place you want to add a new tag that's not in the tag tree, and then you just click new tag. And then follow the same protocol as we just mentioned. But the most, I think the most useful tool is this, do you say if you highlight this region, you can even choose create a tag from selection. So this is not usually available. So I try to add a text box, like add a rectangle. You can create a new tag from selection. You just highlight the rectangle, and then maybe we can yeah, let me try that. So let's say, and a rectangle and a shape. yeah, so, okay, so I already end that one. Okay, and the rectangle, so you can just select that rectangle and you go to create tag from the, oh, it's still not available. Yeah, so this is often not available, but technically you can highlight some content and then create a tag from the selection. So that's one. However, if it doesn't recognize it, right? So the easiest way I really like is that you click the three dots sign and then click reading order. So this is super handy. And once it's open up, and then you can just select any component. So for example, I want this rectangle and as a figure, right? You select this. Yeah, it doesn't let me select right here. Let me select a different component. For example, I select this part, right? And then you can choose it and figure, or you can choose an background and artifact if you don't want the screen reader to read it, right? Or you can choose here if the screen doesn't recognize here. For example, I want supporting our student as heading 1, but the tag automatically recognize supporting our student who to contact as heading 1. I want to separate them, right? I want to separate them so that I can use supporting our student at heading 1, who to contact as heading 2, so that I just highlight this area and then I choose them as heading 1, right? And that will be it will be show up in the tag tree as heading 1, and then I choose this area as heading 2, right? So this is very easy to see. It's already tagged at heading 1, heading 2. And once it's tagged, so this just shows you how to add a new component if that the software doesn't recognize it. Or even like a separate component from one component is recognized, such as I want to separate this sentence, right? And then you just do close. And then once it's recognized, you can just, switch their nesting order. And I will talk about reading order later, but nesting order is like a list. Yeah, so this is a list, right? So the list item right here, that's a list item, right? That's a list item. And then that's a list label, that's a list body. And if you click the drop down menu, it will show the list body, right? So each of this drop down menu and has logically nested. So if you see any mistakes, I would double check, right? And if you see any mistakes, automatic tagging almost always there's always something you need to change them so that you can drag and drop them. So I see a question here. Okay, yes, 3 minutes remaining. Okay, yeah, so you can just change the order very easily. So the last thing I want to show you is the reading order, which is easy, right? So you open up the tag panel and then click the 3 dots and then click reading order. And once you click reading order, you can click this show order pane, right? So this show order pane, so first of all these tags are highlighted here. And if you want to see any reading order, so page 2, right? So responding to disrupt individual, right? So if you want to change this first, right? So you can just drag and drop them. Responding to disrupt individual. So this is a non-proper tag. I would tag them together, right? Responding to disrupt individual should be tagged together. And then you can drag and drop them to the right direction right here, right? So, and because each of these is highlighted, you can also click them to see if they are the right reading order. Otherwise, you can just drag and drop them to the right reading order. Okay, so that's easy, right? The 3 dotted sign, and then click the reading order. The reading order will show, and the contact will be highlighted. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4 is labeled as the reading order, where you can easily drag and drop and change the location, change the reading order. Yeah, so the reading order. Lastly, very quickly, is there's a built-in accessibility checker, and you just go to check for accessibility and click the accessibility checker. So it will give you a list of field item. The most often field item is the PDF lack title. And all you need to do is to click the 3 dotted on the right side and choose a fix, right? Choose a fix. It will give you a pop-up window and it will let you enter a title for the PDF file. Or you can choose right click each of the field item and you let them explain, right? So the software will give you explanation, or you show a report and show it in the contact area. Where you understand where is the content come from, right? So which contact need access is field accessibility checker. So again, it's under check for accessibility, and then you can either ask it to fix automatically, such as end title, or you can ask it to explain, right? So that's and make sure this any tagged PDF is you make sure it's first, is every component is tagged and is arranged in the right nesting order, and make sure the components are in the right reading order, and make sure there's enough color and contrast. Make sure the hyperlink is correct, right? And with alternative text for each image, and the font type is accessible font type. And last, try to use a built-in accessibility checker to make sure there's no field items under the list. And I'm going to share this file in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm sorry, this is a little bit fast, but I hope you learned some useful tools. Yeah, so I will gonna share this document again, right? The PPT file, which has the stamp and stamp list. So it's in the chat right now. And if you have any question, feel free to reach out to me. So you can download my PPT directly from the chat.